Welcome to this new video. This time we're gonna do things a little bit different. You have seen on my other videos that I've been using VS Code to create all my React Native apps. But you might be wondering, how is the process like if you're gonna build an app using native code? Let's say in Kotlin, using Android Studio. So in this video, I'm gonna build the same app in both React Native and in Android Studio Code. So if you're looking forward to this video, give it a like, subscribe, and let's go! So here I have its simple, basic React Native app, which has been created using the React Native CLI. So it's simply npx React Native init. In this case, it's a WebView app. So what's happening here is that we're gonna just install the WebView. Unfortunately, WebView doesn't come automatically with React Native. It did before, but it was separated since. So we have to install the WebView. In this case, I'm using yarn, so it will be yarn add React Native WebView. This will install React Native WebView into our project, and then we have to configure it according to the platform that we're using. So it's done now. So what we're gonna do, if you're installing it on Android and it's the latest version of Android, so you have to just go to the documentation and see what they say. But then under the Gradle.properties, you just make sure that the Android use Android is true, and then also enable Certify is true as well. Okay, so what we have to do now is that we have to import the WebView module from React Native WebView, and then from here we have to come to a, so let's just see if everything's still working. So this is a WebView. Let's just check that. Okay, still live. So we just have to add the WebView, and then this will take a source. The source will take a URI, and then in this case we going for HTTPS, and then we're gonna just point to the Google domain. Okay, we have our view installed, but we don't see anything. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to give it a flex of 1 so that it occupies the full screen. Say styles, flex of 1. I'll say that. So we have the Google showing now. Okay. So we can see that basically the WebView, if we give it a flex of 1, it will wrap the full screen. If we want it to give it a portion, we can say 0.5. It will be a certain section of the screen, and so forth. So this is how we create a WebView in React Native. And then we're gonna check now how to create a WebView in Android Studio. So let's get on to it. So we're gonna start off with creating the Android Studio version. So when you open Android Studio, you should see this screen coming up. If it's the first time you're creating Android Studio, it'll look slightly different, but eventually you just have to create a new project. And then we will see the templates there. In this case, we're just gonna choose the empty activity. And then we're gonna give it a name. In this case, we're going to give it a WebView app. WebView app, and then we're going to keep everything else the same. Here, I'm going to use API 26, which runs on 90% of the devices. And then we're going to create finish. So this will load and index the project. After it's finished indexing the project, I'm just going to open up and then we can get started with it. So the file that you created for us is the main activity.kt, which is the Kotlin file, and then another one we see here is the activity main.xml. So what these two files, the first one is the main activity. So you can think about this as a screen. So how in Android you normally have your home screen, settings screen, so you can kinda put the same ideology to this one, so that we have the screen, and then this one you can see it as your styles. How in React Native you'll have your view screen and then have the styles for that screen. So this, you can think about it as the styles, because you can see also it's the XML, which is also similar to, like, if you know JSX, which is JavaScript XML. So this is an XML file, and what the nice thing about this one is that you can actually drag and drop features, which is really cool. So here, that activity main file is connected via this line here. So what I'm gonna do now is that we're gonna modify this code such that like we can add the web view that we wanted. So I'm just gonna expand here, and then after expanding, you have to import the web view, which is gonna be coming from we have to import the web view. View. And then after that, we have to come to our main activity, and then here we have to create a variable for that web view. Should point to itself, and you're gonna use that variable because we have to enable JavaScript for the web view to work. Set this to true, and then what happens is that our set content view, we're not gonna be using this activity main, so you're gonna just use the web view itself. So we're gonna point it to the web view. Then finally we have to set or load the URL that we wanna show. So web view dot load URL, and then this time we're going to point it to Google, so it should be https then / google google.com. It's important that it's an https, and then just like that we are done. Then the next step now would be to run up an emulator or simulator. So if you don't have one set up already, you have to come to these devices and and create a new device. But since I already have the Pixel 2, I'm just gonna use that one. So I'm just gonna press on this button, which will run the app, or you can use Command or Shift R to run the app. Okay, so this is what you see. You'll see that we don't have our web view, And the reason why this is happening is because in Android Studio you have to set the permission to use the internet, and in this case we haven't done that. And you set the permission in the manifest file. So if we go to our main and then go to android.manifest, so we have to give it the ability to use the internet, and that is where we're gonna use permission Android, and then we have to give it a permission for the internet. So let me do that here. So it's important that you put it in the right place. Yes. So I'm just gonna save that, and then I'm just gonna rerun the app. After rerunning the app, we just have the web view that we created, and just like that, this is how you create a web view in Android. So compared to React Native, how would you think this process is like? Okay, let me just stop there, and you can already see the web view that we created.